What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Wise Dads Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Nate Holloway, and I'm here with my boy, my man, my brother from another mother, my co-host, Ted Bullitt. What's up, Ted?
What is up, man?
Nothing much, man. Nothing much. Ready to get into this episode, man. How was your day?
I had a great day, man. Busy with work. I had my birthday was yesterday, so I had the whole family over, and we had such an amazing time, man. House full of people, all my favorite foods. Ate too much,
Man,
but it was a good day.
happy belated birthday. I'm a terrible friend, man, because I ain't even
I
know,
mean, I
man.
didn't want to say
Okay.
anything, but yeah, you
Yeah,
are terrible. Yeah.
yeah. So I'm gonna have to. All right, I'm gonna put your birthday in my phone. So
You're
next
the
time you
best.
come,
There we go.
I'm gonna tell everybody if you're watching, I want you to comment and tell Ted happy birthday. Let him know how much you love him. But man, happy birthday, man.
Thank you,
How
brother.
old are you?
Appreciate it.
Looking at the hair. What you 25?
47, brother.
47.
47. I'm catching you
Man,
slowly.
you almost in the club with me, man. You almost in the
Almost.
club with me. I'm gonna leave the light on for you, like they used to tell the
Oh,
old folks.
man.
Used to tell me, I'm gonna leave the light on for
We
you.
appreciate that. Yeah, what a fun club to be in.
Man, I remember my 40s, man. I think,
Oh,
yeah, I remember my 40s more than I remember my 30s, man. I guess the 40s I was
yeah.
married,
Well,
had the
yeah,
kid.
yeah.
Yeah. 30s. I think my 30s was trying to hurry up and build and get fix the mistakes I made in my 20s. And
Yeah,
then I got married and then had the kids, and then so that's why I guess because I was having so
mhm.
much fun with my beautiful bride and
That's it, man.
everything. Um, but yeah, man. Well, happy belated birthday, man.
Thank you,
You
brother.
know, you,
Appreciate
you
it.
you're a good friend, man. I appreciate it, but I'm a terrible friend. I'm gonna make it up to you, though.
I
I'm gonna
forgive
make
you.
it up to you.
I forgive you this time. Next year,
All right,
yeah.
next
Next
year
year,
I
you
got
better take me to Mr. Tokyo's. Give me some sushi.
man, Mr. Tokyo the spot, man. You know what, Mr.
Yeah, I
Tokyo?
went there for the first time last week, and my buddy ordered like 6 sushi rolls. I was like, dude, really? And so he explained the whole deal, how you get to take it home, but it's like $5 a roll. He's like, so either way, it's a great deal. Yeah, it was packed.
Man, they stay packed. Me and Keisha, that's Keisha's one of her favorite spots. We get the all you can eat sushi.
Oh yeah, that's what we
So
did.
yeah, man. It's and I get the teriyaki with the extra yum sauce. Yeah,
Yeah,
Mr. Tokyo
yummy,
spot. Now you got
yummy.
me wanting to go. Okay, all right. Man, that's what I'm gonna do. Next time I'm gonna have to set up a time. I'm gonna take you, Mr. Tokyo, for your birthday.
All right,
How
man. I'm
about
gonna
that?
hold you to it. I'm gonna
Yep, I'm
write
gonna
it
take
down
you.
right now.
Huh?
All right, I just wrote it down.
All right, Mr. Tokyo for your birthday. We gonna pick a date. I'm serious. We gonna pick a date. We're going to Mr. Tokyo. Well,
Awesome.
guys, welcome to another episode of the Wise Dads Podcast. Well, we talk about all things fatherhood. Sometimes we have guests, sometimes we don't, but this is who we are. We're the dads talking about all things fatherhood. We're two dads from two spectrums in life. Ted has seven, right?
Yeah.
7 kids. I have two. Mine are young. His are older and younger. But we're just here to just give you some wisdom on being a dad, on things that can help, especially new dads.
Yeah.
If you're a new dad, we want to help you become a better dad. If you're a seasoned dad, we want to help you become a better dad. Because there's some areas where some of our guests can help you in.
Mm.
So, and that's what we are going to do with this podcast. So tonight we got a pretty cool episode. And what we do is we kind of talk about things that we're going through in life or that we've gone through with our kids. And right now, this topic is all about a little bit of what I'm going through with my son. And it's talking about friendships. We're going to talk about friendships um, with our children. But first, what I want you to do before we get started, I want you guys to like, share, and I want you guys to comment. As we're talking, let us know some ways you deal with friendships with your kids. Let us know how you talk to your kids about those things. But we want you to help us share this podcast to those who may want to see it, who may need it, and to get it out and make this go. We want to make this number one podcast in the world. That's right, the number one podcast in the world. So we're going to talk about friendships tonight. So Ted, I'm going through like we were talking before we started, going through some things now where my son is starting to choose friends.
Mm.
My oldest, Caden, the baby, not so much. But Caleb is starting to choose friends. He's starting to. It seems like we're the cool house. It's
Yeah.
like every day, the kids, as soon as he gets home from school, doo, doorbell ring. I look on the ring camera. It's the same kids every day. And they come in. I don't know if we got the cool snacks because Caleb's got the PS5. He's got the Nintendo Switch. He's got the iPads with Roblox and things on that because they always play Roblox. But it's like it's every day, and he has a couple of different spectrums of friends. Okay, so he has friends. I don't want to say bad because my wife gets on me. She said, "Don't call nobody's child bad." Okay, so I'm not gonna say they're bad, but it's kids who have more leniency from their parents than I've seen that I feel any child should have. Okay, and then you got on the other spectrum, you got the kids and friends that the parents are like us. They are strict, not too strict, but they're parents that are involved. The parents that know you. They're parents that we trust Caleb to go with. We trust them when they say, "Hey, we're going such. Can Caleb go?" Bam, he can go, no problem. Same with their kids with us. Hey, I'm taking the kids to such. Oh yeah, they can go, no problem. So the others, because I'm the type of dad is that whenever Caleb gets a new friend, I go and I meet the parents,
Mm.
especially the father. I want to meet the father. So they can know where their kids are, who house their kids is over, who their kids are around, and I can know who my son is going to be around. And I also look at that to evaluate, okay, what type of parents are they? What are they teaching their kids? What are their kids learning? And so how is that going to influence my son?
Yep.
So we're looking at it and we're noticing the two spectrums. And we haven't seen any influence on Caleb yet, but I know that could possibly happen. I was watching this video on Instagram one time. It's a guy. He said, "When your children are young, pay attention to their friends.
Mm.
Pay close attention to their friends because once they hit puberty, you are not going to be the loudest voice in their ear anymore. It's going to be their friends."
Yeah.
You know? And I thought about that, and I hadn't thought about it before until I saw that. And that's why I really, really, truly started paying attention to his friends. So I'm going, like I said, I'm going to. That's why I'm so excited to talk about this topic tonight because I want to get pointers from you. Anybody, guys, if you're listening and watching, I want you to comment, give us some pointers that you do, and let us know some things. And I just want to talk about this because I want to learn um, some things and tips, and I know other dads too want to learn on how to handle that with their kids. So Ted, have you? I know you have 7 kids. So how did you handle that with your kids?
Yeah. Great topic, by the way. Um, so keep in mind that I am usually one of
Katie said, "Love you, Dad."
my sweet girl. I am one of the weird dads, the weird guys in the room, in any room, because we're the ones that homeschooled our whole life, right? So that always puts us in a unique category. They hear a bunch of kids, they hear homeschool, so people assume I'm either in a cult, I'm Amish, maybe I'm Mormon, and it's like, look, it's none of those. It's none of those. I promise. I really like my wife. There was nothing good on TV. We had to stay busy. I'm kidding. That's part of the.
I just caught
Oh wait,
that.
Kaylee's on here. Oh, Kaylee, I'm sorry, baby. I'm sorry. Um, no, here's the thing, though. We are our life's experiences, and what you go through in life, Nate, has made you who you are. We were talking before the show started about the absence of a father in your life and what an impact that had. How you basically found your dad by YouTube. You found
Right.
out my dad's a jazz musician. He's on YouTube, and that got you going down that path that you're still going down today. And look at how much it's influenced you to this very day. Arguably, the reason that you have such a passion for fatherhood was the absence of a father in your life.
Right.
For me, one of my earliest memories is I had a family member that was molested.
Mm.
And not only did that happen when they were young, but it happened by someone in the church. And not only were they in the church, they were one of the most respected older men in the church. And it had a big impact because I remember, hearing this word and I was like, what does that mean? And understanding what it meant. And even though I was younger, it just put something in me, this protective thing in me where I, like with my sisters, I was always so protective of my sisters. Almost all of my fights throughout school was because my oldest sister was a cheerleader. And so you can imagine the attention that got. And then my middle sister, we were in some of the same classes. And so guys would make comments to my sister, sometimes even to me, about my sisters, whether they were just trying to be funny or trying to start something. So I've just always had this protective nature in me, especially with girls, women, but it continued on as a dad. I've been very protective. So homeschooling always made sense for a few reasons. Number one, because I traveled quite a bit early in my career, and I knew that if my kids weren't homeschooled, I would not see them as much as I wanted to. And I wanted to see my kids. I wanted to be with them all the time. My dad was military, and so he was gone a lot. And I craved that one-on-one time, that attention that I didn't get. And so that was another thing. It was like I knew I wanted to give my kids what I didn't have. Besides that, my wife wanted to be a teacher early on when we first met. She thought, I'm going to be a teacher one day. So the idea of homeschooling made so much sense for so many reasons. And then lastly, I didn't trust the school system, right? No offense to any teachers that are out there. I respect that job. It's a very difficult job. You couldn't pay me enough to do it. But I didn't trust the school system to educate my kids because I even, and this was, 25 years ago, I felt like school has become more indoctrination rather than education. And I don't need you to indoctrinate my kids. I need you to educate them. I will
Right.
teach them at home these things that are from a moral standpoint. You teach them these things that are in line with math and science and English, etc. But anyway, so we made a decision to homeschool. So I'm setting the table for us. Because of that, it heavily influenced who we allowed our kids to be around. So I have not let my kids, as soon as I saw that this kid was using profanity, if I felt like this kid was a bad influence in some way, we would watch very closely. And if we felt like this is a problem, it didn't last long where we would just say, nope. Their social life came from church. We've always been very active in church. We've been involved in co-op groups where it's other homeschool families that get together. So my kids were always very active. And one of the benefits of having a lot of kids is when you have a big family, they become each other's best friends. To this day, we're all best friends. We all hang out all the time. So my answer to your question is, I think you and I are a lot alike in that sense that I want to meet the dad. I want to know who my kids are around. But I don't
Mhm.
give a lot of rope. And part of that is because I know what happened to that family member, and it happened just like that. And I have so many stories of when I was younger, being around the wrong person, being exposed to one thing, and it unlocked this thing in my brain. And now I'm exposed to this thing that I never would have known about otherwise.
Yeah.
So you can't protect your kids from every bad thing out there. I totally understand. And again, that's what's great about being a parent is it's very personal. You can decide what's best for your home. I can decide what's best for mine. But for me, it's always been, look, I want to do my best to protect my child's mind as long as they can. Because like you said, when they're young, especially, you can determine so much about their circle, their friends. And I wanted to make sure that my kids, especially as they were young, that they enjoyed childhood as long as they could. Because today, everything is being thrown at them younger and younger. Society is trying to make little kids think like an adult. They're dressing like adults. They're talking like adults. They're doing very adult things. They're addicted to their phones. They're watching nonstop YouTube and TikTok videos. And the subject matter is very mature. I would argue it's way too mature for these kids, not to mention the actual brain damage it's causing and the damage it's causing to kids' eyes. It's rewiring their personality. So I can go on. This is a subject I'm very passionate about, but I do feel like you've got to be extremely careful with who your kids are around because all it takes is that one negative influence to plant that seed in their mind. And how do you unring the bell? Right? Once I take that feather pillow outside and bust it open, and those feathers go everywhere. Good luck trying to retrieve all those feathers. It's very tough to unring the bell once they have exposure in their mind to certain things. And so I try to be very, very careful because remember, it's not a child, it's a future adult. I always remind my wife, and I say that all the time, we're raising future adults. And I can promise you, if I said to my wife, hey, I've got this friend that I met in boxing class, and look, he's a good dude, but he does curse a lot. He likes to smoke a lot of weed, and he's got girls over all the time. But we just shoot pool when I go over there. How long do you think she's going to listen to that conversation before she goes,
She's
no,
not going over
no,
there.
you're not hanging out with them. So it's like, why do we have different standards for our kids? I'm not going to let my kid hang out with someone that's going to be a negative influence. In the same way, she's not going to let me. So again, I know to each their own, not being judgmental. Some people hear this immediately go, yeah, but you're a crazy homeschooler. I get it. Trust me. I'm just saying, be very careful to guard their minds, because once they have certain seeds planted, it will grow.
Yeah, we actually, Keisha and I actually floated around the topic of homeschooling the kids, because look at, like you said, what they're trying to indoctrinate them with and things these days. But and you said something about kids being impacted by one person, about being molested and things like about whose house they go over. That's why we're very careful. And
Yeah.
I have a conversation with Caden whenever he goes anywhere. I always say to him, nobody should be touching you anywhere.
Yeah.
That's right, right? I said, do daddy touch you there? No. I said, so nobody else should be touching you there. Don't, if somebody try to get you to go somewhere with them, what do? He said, I run. He said, I don't. And then one day he said, I'm gonna kick him between the legs. You know, but I know sometimes, as they get older, they're going to be people with some influence that it may be a bigger influence on him.
Yeah.
That, like you said, we can't shield them from everything.
That's right.
So that's what we try to teach. Have to teach them the word, teach them morals, teach them values, and like you said, we have to be the bigger voice
Mm-hmm.
in their head. So, and when I was doing some research on this topic, it talked about why friendships matter. One of the things, and I believe friendships matter because you said something that even though you homeschooled your kids, they still, and it's one thing Keisha and I are big on, they still got to have that connection,
Yeah.
the interaction, the social connection, because we don't want them to just be home all the time, not connect with other kids. And I believe friendships help you to learn, help you to build camaraderie, help you to build that friend that you can talk to, that relationships
Yeah.
and things like that. And with our kids, I believe the importance of friendships in their lives is to, I think it's to help them grow in a
Yeah.
way, because when they have friends and certain friends, good friends, the good ones, teach them things. And sometimes I believe that sometimes some of the negative influences have to happen to teach them how to, what's the word I want to use, Ted? To teach them how to
Overcome.
overcome. Yeah, teach them how to say, okay, you know what? Nah, mommy and daddy taught me different from that. That's not what we believe. So I'm not going to go right, because it's a test. And I think if they start learning those things early, if we teach them how to learn it early, then as they get older, because I watch your kids, okay, I interact with your kids, especially with TJ.
Yeah.
You know, I have conversation with TJ when he's in my presence on purpose, just to see his how he's going to talk, what he's going to talk about, and what his answer is going to be. That's a smart kid.
Yeah.
He's very mature, and you can tell that you taught them, the right things and the right values. And I look at that and I say, I want Caleb and Caden to be like that,
Mm-hmm.
and I think with them, when they go through those tests with friendships and they overcome the temptations after we taught them how to overcome those temptations, that's what helps them to grow. You
Yeah.
you agree?
Yeah. Well, look, let me back up 1 second. Being a great dad, a great mom, is hard. It is arguably the hardest job you'll ever have. Just being an average, mediocre, bad, that's easy, right? Just let them do what they want. But when you love your children and you want the best for them, and I don't mean you're a helicopter parent. That's an extreme, because kids do need some latitude, right? They do need to have the ability to jump on that trampoline, even though they could fall and could get hurt. They need to be able to do some of those things to push their boundaries and figure out who they are. So I don't mean to that extreme. But being a great parent is hard, and you're not going to get it all right. But I think you've just got to pay attention to your children, and you've got to remember that all it takes is that one incident. And one of the things that comes to mind is I knew someone that their dad was a pastor. And so you would think, hey, going over to his house has got to be totally safe. And man, this guy had like wall to wall, bookshelves that were full of like porn magazines. And I'm old, man, but he had the VHS tapes wall to wall, and he was a pastor. So I never forgot that, because it's like it was shocking to me as a young guy, as a teenager, to go over to his house and see his dad's collection out in the open. I was shocked.
Wow.
So that's also one of those things that just stuck with me of how do you really know what someone is doing behind their closed doors? You don't. So we were always also funny, side note about sleepovers. We didn't do sleepovers. Even if it was family, we didn't do that. The amount of stories between all the families and some of it you could say is innocent, but things that happened even between family when they were little, it's like, I don't want that for my kids, I
Right.
get that some of that you would say is normal, but is it healthy? No. So, we just always try to be careful about that stuff as well. Having said that, you've got to find the balance in life. Like everything else, what works for you? I think if your mission is to be a great parent and to be super engaged with your child, whether it's I'm sending them to school, normal school, homeschool, or something in between, like a co-op or whatever that is, the important thing is that you have a connection with your child and you understand what's going on in their life, right? That you're doing what you're doing right now, Nate. They say the only thing stronger than Catholic guilt is parental guilt. And that's absolutely true. I can tell you, when you get the older you get and the older your boys get, you're going to look back and you're going to replay so many events and go, man, I got that wrong. I promise you, you're going to look back, and it doesn't mean you live in regret by any means, but parental guilt is real. You're going to go, man, I wish I had taken them on that one last trip to Hendersonville, in case Kaylee's still watching, because she knows, man. I mean, you're always going to go, gosh, I wish I had stopped everything that one day and taking him for that walk instead of saying, no, son, I've got to finish this work. Those are the things that stick with you. So I think as long as you live in this place in a healthy way, Nate, where you're constantly trying, you're striving to be the best husband, the best father, and you prove it. You prove it by putting them first. I think as long as you're doing that and you're putting God first in your life, I think if you're doing those things, everything falls into place. It's all about balance, though.
Yeah. So let me ask you. So you've been a dad much longer than me. So how do you help your friends? How do you help your children choose their friends wisely?
Mm.
What are some tips?
Well, I think one of the biggest things is, and we talked about this recently, but your children have to feel safe to talk to you. And I have certainly had these seasons or events, times where I felt like, I probably haven't made my kids feel as safe as they need to talk to me about certain things, right? My kids recently, one of them said to me, Dad, you're so easy to talk to unless we are criticizing one of the other kids. Like if I'm criticizing, her or him, you might get a little bit salty with us. And it's like, oh, well, there's probably some truth in that. And I shouldn't do that. I need to be a safe place for you. I need to be objective and calm. And I don't mean I'm screaming and throwing things at them by any means, but I know what they were saying and they're right. And so my point, Nate, is make sure that you're listening and that you're always calm and you're a safe place for them to talk to, because it's no different than your marriage. If you say, if I've used this example, but if your wife says, hey, listen, tell me if you're ever struggling with anything, and I'm going to be there. I'm going to be your rock. I'm going to help you no matter what it is. And you go, really? Yeah, anything. I get it. And you go, okay. Well, listen, recently I've been really tempted to look at other women naked. I just want to see a different set of boobies. Right? If you say that and she loses her mind, what? Dude, you're never going to tell her the truth again about that. You're going to go, oh, no, we're good. Make
Right.
sure that you're not doing that to your kids, because if you freak out when they tell you something you don't want to hear, it's not what you like, it's not what you would do, they're going to mark that subconsciously and they're going to back away. So That's how you make sure that your kids are picking the right friends, is that they feel safe to talk to you and tell you. Because again, it's not about spying on your kids. It's about having a relationship where they want to tell you what's going on with that friend. And then they can course correct themselves. They can go, you know what, Dad, the way he talks sometimes really bothers me. I don't like it. And then you can chime in, and then you can be super dad and go, son, I'm so proud of you. You should be proud of yourself, because that's very wise. And now he feels like, oh, thanks, Dad. Instead of you just saying, you don't hang out with him ever again. But again, these are things, these are things that, you just have to go through and learn.
Yeah, yeah, and your kid, your daughter chiming in, she giving you props.
God, no, man. I got to take her out to dinner now.
Yeah, and so I mean, it's like you said. You said key about influence. We had one of Caleb's friends. So when we first moved in this neighborhood, Caleb was about 4, and the little boy came over, and we were outside playing with Caleb, and he saw something on the ground, and he said, "What the was that?" And Keisha was like, "What?" And we was like, and I was like, "Hey, no, no, we don't use that language around here." But then as we got older and the kids have been coming over, we realized that one of the kids that come over now was that little boy.
Mm, mm,
Older, and we're like, okay, we gotta watch, we gotta pay
yeah,
attention. Um, but it's so key, and I like how you said that we have to do that. We have to pay attention, and we have to let our kids feel like they can come to us about things. But before we go any further, guys, we want to give you a word from our sponsor who sponsors this episode. This episode is sponsored by Junk Raider. Junk Raider is your local full service junk removal team. From junk removal and light demolition like sheds and mobile homes, to hourly labor for furniture assembly or loading trucks and pods. They do it all. Plus, they now offer valet trash service for your home, business, or apartment complex. With over 1,400 five-star reviews and 6 years of experience, Junk Rate is trusted by the Charlotte area and beyond, including Greensboro, Winston-Salem, and High Point. If you need their services, call Junk Raider at 704-594-1271 or visit junkraider.com today. Satisfaction guaranteed, or you don't pay. All right. How to
wow.
do Ted? Now how to do that,
Outstanding.
that's Ted's business. So
Outstanding.
yeah. Ted's going to read his sponsorship next time. You
Oh,
know.
can't wait. Can't wait.
But this episode is sponsored by Junk Rate, and they do excellent service. I've used them before at work, so you guys can depend on them. So go out, hit Junk Rate up at junkrate.com, or call them at 704-594-1271. Well, back to the episode. So we're talking about Ted's kids, just giving them props on they're watching tonight. They're giving them support. I couldn't have asked for better parents. Oh,
They're
Kaylee,
the
Kaylee, you
they're
trying
the
to get a bump in your allowance? I see what you're doing. I see what
best.
you're doing. If you get a bump,
All
Kaylee,
right.
you got to take me to
I'll
lunch.
pay for lunch next time, Kaylee. I promise.
So one of the things I realized about friendship is that you have to have boundaries.
Yeah. Mm,
And a lot of times our kids, especially young kids, and some older kids, don't know how to have boundaries.
mm,
And so what that looks like in a child is, for me, I believe in knowing to teach my child that you got to be able to know when to say no, when
mm.
someone's in your personal space, and when you just need to say, okay, this is too much, you got to go, or we can't hang out. Because sometimes when people cross those boundaries, and I believe that's a lot of times when the influence comes in, when negative influence comes in, when you have a set of morals, you have a set of values, and then the friends cross those boundaries to try to get you to do something that they know you won't do, or they try to disrespect you or say things to you, get in your personal space. Um, but we have to teach our kids, and I believe if we tell our kids, hey, you got to know how to recognize it when their boundaries have been crossed. You got to know how to say no, and don't be afraid to say no, and don't be afraid to lose their friendship if you say no.
That's right. That's right.
Because a lot of times our kids don't want to lose their friends, They don't want to lose their friendships. It's like if they don't feel like them friends coming over today and they come ring the doorbell, they'll let them in anyway after you've told them, hey, I don't feel like company. And they come over, then they cross that boundary, and then you let them in. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think again, man, if your kids know how much you care and they have a relationship with you it's not just your dad, you're like one of his best friends, you're his hero. He wants your approval, or they want your approval above anything. We had we had an incident probably 6 months ago or so where we had to have a family meeting, and my kids called this meeting, and they wanted to talk to me and my wife about something with the kids, and it wasn't this huge deal, but my reaction at one point was it was too harsh. It was too emotional, I'll say. Not because I was boo-hooing, but I was just like, hey, I hear you, but you're talking about one of my kids here, and there's context that you guys don't know about. Regardless, I overreacted, and I had to course correct. I've always said to my kids, hey, if I ever thought I hurt you, I will drop everything to make it right. And when I found out the next day how much my reaction bothered, especially one of my daughters, I literally dropped everything, drove over there, sat down, and said, hey, first and foremost, I am so sorry that I hurt your feelings and I offended you. Absolutely not my intention. And, I tried to make it right in the moment. Later, afterwards, I apologized. But anyway, it's so important, though, that your kids know that about you and they respect you. And anyway, one of the things she said to me was, through tears, like sobbing, was, I just don't want you to be disappointed in me.
Mm.
Now you think about that, so, and this is an adult, right? This is a grown-up, kids of their own. And so if your children know how much you love them and how much you care about them and how much you prioritize them in your life, Nate, they're going to want to please you. They're going to want to make sure that you're not disappointed with those choices. At the same time, you don't want to put so much pressure on them they feel like they can't make mistakes. So that's why I said earlier, it's all about finding the balance. But, if there are times where you have to course correct, you can't just let your kids course correct. You cannot let a child make certain decisions, because children will say things like, when I grow up, I want to be a dinosaur. Cool. You can't be, right? You can't leave it up to a child to make certain decisions. So that's one of the things that drives me nuts about this generation of parents, these young parents, and what's happening in society, where we are allowing kids and people, but children, to just base life on their feelings. I feel this way, therefore I am. That is nonsense. That is ridiculous. Nate, you can feel like you're a pro NBA player. You are not, right?
Right.
Reality will set in. And so it's like, listen, I see what you're doing over here. You're trying to be the cool best buddy parent, and you're trying to say, there's no limits on my child. No, there are. There are. No matter how special you think your child is, your child, if they are 5'4" and 115 pounds, they are not going to be a linebacker in the NFL. And it's important that you, as a parent, again, balance. Yes, I want to encourage you that you can do just about anything you put your mind to. Not anything, Nate, just about anything. So again, that child is not going to be the center for the Orlando Magic. So it's about encouraging, but set realistic boundaries around them and go, hey, listen, there are some things you absolutely can do and should do. There's other things that, as your dad, I would encourage you to stay away from. If my kid said, I want to pursue a career in Hollywood, I would say, no, you don't want to do that. Let's talk about that. Dad, I want to be a politician. No, you don't. No, let's talk about that. Let me explain why you don't. Right? We're gonna take that trip to Hendersonville. We're gonna walk around the lake and we're gonna talk about this. That's what I'm saying. When you prioritize things that are that important with that level of attention, man, it just stops them in their tracks. It's not just an in-passing conversation. So I think that's what it's all about, man, is you make sure they understand how much you've prioritized raising that future adult.
Yeah, and that's good, and I like that, because that's being intentional. That's being intentional about them. That's being intentional about their life. That's being intentional about who they come in contact with. And when we do that, it allows them to avoid certain routes,
That's
certain
right.
roads that they may go down in life that we may have gone down. And we have the experience. We may have gone down that road. We can say, son, this is why you don't do that. This is
Yeah.
why, and so I talked to Caleb when Caleb is going through, what he wants to do and things like that. I'm like, okay, son, well, let's talk about it.
Yeah.
You do this, focus on this. Don't just focus on that, focus on this. He said he wants to be an actor. I say, okay, well, what I want you to do is focus on learning to direct and produce.
Mm,
You know,
mm,
do that, and learn how to act, but focus on being a director and a producer because
yeah.
those are people that have the control. I say, you just don't want to be an actor. You want to have some sweat in the game, if that's how I can say it. But
Yeah.
whenever he talks about what he wants to do and things, I try, okay, well, what's the alternative? Or I tried to steer him away from it, unless I know it's not good, like you said.
Yeah.
So no, I'll be like, son, no, that's not good for you to do because this is what we believe, this is what we stand for, and such. And I believe if more parents did that, because you said a key thing. You said this generation goes off of feelings,
Hmm.
how they feel.
Hmm.
And if you have sensitive, Caleb is sensitive. He's sensitive,
Yeah.
and I was sensitive coming up, but I had that mom that no, you gon' do this,
Right.
not gonna gone. Um, but it's like you have as parents, we have to bring that in and show them that, like you said, you can't live off your feelings.
Yeah.
You got to be rational about this. You can't, and there's so many parents who letting children make decisions of what they want to do in life or who they want to be at 5 and at 6 and at 7. I'm just like, what in the world is going on? So, but it's key. That's why it's important for us to be there to help our children and to guide them. But guys, we got a lot to talk about in this episode, so there's going to have to be a part 2 to this.
Yeah.
So we're gonna pick this back up next week for part 2 of this about building friendships, helping your children with their friendships and teaching them on how to have healthy friendships. So we just want to tell you guys, take what we've spoken, what we've said, listen to this episode again, watch if you're watching on YouTube, listen to it, and just let us know. Come back next week, hit us up in the comments, let us know what you think, let us know how you're doing it, let us know, because we don't know everything. It's the Wise Dad podcast. We're going off the wisdom that we have and the wisdom that we gain. But if we've said something that you have some wisdom on, let us know. And you can do that by you can email us at the Wise Dad Podcast at gmail.com, or you can comment on this on YouTube. Just let us know, hey, I got some info for you, or let us know your comment and we will reach back out to you. Trust me, we're not gonna shy away from any comments. We don't shy away from negative comments. We definitely don't shy away from positive comments. So let us know. And guys, again, we want you guys to like and share and comment and rate us. Let us know what you think. Subscribe to us on YouTube. It's the Wise Dad Podcast at YouTube. Subscribe and follow us. Help us to make this the #1 podcast for fatherhood and to get this all over the world. Ted, you got a last note you want to give to them? Last tidbit?
I just wanted to echo what you just said. If anyone's watching here, whether it's live or later, and you have any questions, a topic even in mind that you think would be interesting, maybe it's something very specific that you're going through, leave it in the comments. We'd be happy to take a look at that, and that may be our next topic.
Yep. And we let us know. We would do it. So guys, again, thank you for being here tonight. Thank you for joining us on the Wise Dads Podcast. Until next week, be victorious. And that's a wrap for today's episode of the Wise Dads Podcast. We hope you enjoyed this episode and found some nuggets of wisdom or humor that resonates with your own parenting journey. Remember, no matter where you are in your fatherhood adventure, you're not alone. We're all in this together, learning and growing along the way. If you like what you heard, don't forget to subscribe and share, rate, and leave a review. Your feedback helps us keep bringing you the best content. And be sure to follow us on social media for updates, behind the scene glimpses, and more stories from the dad community. Guys, thanks for tuning in. And until next time, keep being the amazing dads you are. Here's some more laughter, love, and unforgettable moments on your fatherhood journey. Be victorious.